Your construction smells of corruption. I manipulate to recreate. This air to go around saga.
You're listening to Allman in the Morning, Common Sense Radio.
My karma.
Good morning, you bunch of drunks.
Starbucks must feel good about sucking up to the left with their little refugee deal, you know. What they got in return was a bunch of bricks thrown through their window at Berkeley. So live and learn. Jerry wanted to know what population I was talking about, immigrant. Yeah, there's already a population of Syrian refugees here who are having trouble in St. Louis. Nobody will ever tell you about it, but just ask somebody you know in the police department, and you've got that going. Anyway, I want to get to Judge Napolitano,
Hello,
who is
Jamie,
graciously...
how are you?
I know to you, I may look old. Hope this statement ain't too bold, but here comes the judge.
Hello, Judge Napolitano. I know you have been pulled every which direction in the wake of all the...
I'm getting confused. What day of the week is this?
I know. It's just crazy. What a pleasure that we get to double dip into the excellent brain of Judge Napolitano.
Oh, Jamie, you're very kind. And the pleasure is truly mine. Yeah, so much going on this week. I'm happy to chat with you about all of it.
Absolutely. Well, I guess let me double back here on the process that a lot of people are confused about, and that is this concept of Betsy DeVos, who is, right now we've had two senators who have opted out of supporting her, Republican senators, leaving us at 50-50, and the Constitution allows for a tiebreaker from the titular president of the Senate, really, the Vice President of the United States.
Yes. Al Gore famously broke a 50-50 tie in 1993 to raise income taxes retroactively, the only time that's happened in American history. So the power is there, and it's lawful, and that's what it's there for.
Yeah, well, and
I hope it doesn't come to that with her, but it might be necessary.
Now, when
the president is in the default position. The default position is he chooses the people to run his administration. He gets to do that because the country elected him. This resistance by the Democrats in an effort to influence who runs his government, not who writes the laws, but who runs the executive branch departments, is going to come back to bite them because they're just causing enormous frustration and stagnation in the executive branch.
Right. So when you say you hope that doesn't happen, is it because it basically puts her behind the eight ball because she comes in not clearly having support, or because it just shows the vacuousness of the Democratic Party in just simply straight party line no?
Well, that's a self-inflicted wound that they keep shooting themselves in the feet every day with that. I don't want her to be known as the cabinet member who needed an extra vote to get in.
Right.
Maybe that'll happen, and maybe it will pass away. Who the heck knows? But the teachers' unions are so powerful that they are terrified of this woman. Look, schools are local in the United States. There shouldn't even be a federal Department of Education. But there is, and it distributes a lot of money, and it writes a lot of rules. This lady wants to be able to distribute money and write rules in such a way as to encourage something that the Democrats hate, competition. Competition with the public school. Think about public schools. Think about this paradigm. You operate an entity. You have guaranteed clients, guaranteed income, and no competition. That's a recipe for failure. That's what the public schools have. She wants to create competition, whereby parents can take that portion of their real estate taxes that go to the local schools, and instead of sending it there, sending it to a charter school, a small elite school. It could be the type of school intended to get your kid into Yale, or the type of school intended to get your kid into a trade school that will teach him or her to become a air conditioning mechanic. You choose. You choose where the money goes. You and the child choose what kind of an education they want, and competition improves the product. The Democrats hate that and fear that. And Mrs. DeVos wants to begin the process. We don't have that in the country, but she wants to experiment with it. What the heck is wrong with that?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. And, in the end, as much as people say that she's not supportive then of public education, the reality is public schools is that I would think they would benefit from a competitive force. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving them too much.
Competition improves the product, cuts out waste, makes you work harder. And one of the reasons, and I refuse to call them public schools, what I call them, the Democrats hate. How could they hate this phrase? Government schools. That's what they are. But
right.
The Dems hate that. The left hates that. It's more accurate and more descriptive. But of course, competition improves the product, and who could be against that? But these people are.
All right.
And now, of course, they've gotten to Republicans, to I guess moderate Republicans, Murkowski of Alaska and Collins of Maine, to say they're going to oppose. And right now, it's 50-50 if all the Republicans hold.
Right. All right. So now when we come to the new Supreme Court nominee, Neil Gorsuch, what's your take on him? What do you think is going to happen?
I think he is a superb and truly worthy successor to Antonin Scalia. In some respects, from my small government, my personal perspective, and full disclosure, I was involved in the process, as you know, the president at the time, the president-elect's process. From my perspective, Judge Gorsuch is actually a little bit more skeptical of government than Justice Scalia was. But his skepticism is driving them crazy. So here's an example of his skepticism right now. If the Environmental Protection Agency swoops down into your backyard and sees a mud puddle and decides they want to regulate it, they impose the regulation. You have to go to court and prove why they can't regulate it and why the regulation is wrong. Because right now the law presumes that what the EPA does is correct. Judge Gorsuch, as did Justice Scalia, wants to put the EPA, and I'm just using them as an example. You could fill in that blank. You could replace EPA with almost any government agency on equal footing with the property owner. They want to regulate something on your property. They have to demonstrate why they're there, and they have to prove the validity of the regulation rather than you having to disprove it. This is not just an argument in the weeds amongst lawyers. This rule, which is far fairer, will keep the government out of our faces. And, of course, the Democrats hate that because they want all government all the time.
Yeah, and, it was interesting when Nancy Pelosi was talking about, food safety and all this other stuff.
This is what she was talking about. She wants the FDA to be able to promulgate any regulation it wants, and it should be presumed valid. Judge Gorsuch says when the FDA promulgates a regulation, they got to justify it.
Interesting.
That's the difference.
Yeah, right, exactly. But here's the thing, though. It seems to me that the role of the Supreme Court, if it is viewed that way by the president and by Gorsuch, this isn't about creating new laws. This isn't about piling on new laws on top of one another. This is about simply reaffirming rights that have been eroded over the past decade.
Yes, because the Supreme Court a few terms ago came up with something called the Chevron Doctrine. Without getting into details, it's back in the old days when there was a Chevron oil company. Somebody bought them out. But the Chevron Doctrine says when an administrative agency like the EPA or the Food and Drug Administration, the Federal Communications Commission, even the Federal Reserve, any of these monstrosities that are alien to the Constitution but really run our lives, makes a rule, we must defer to their judgment. That's the Chevron Doctrine. Scalia and Gorsuch say that's insane. When they make a rule, they have to justify the rule. Why? Because they're not a transparent part of the government. They're just a bunch of bureaucrats. We didn't elect them. They just got into power because some president put them there. So that's what they're complaining about. The bottom line is I believe he'll be confirmed. They already have 59 votes, 52 Republicans and 7 Democrats to resist the 60-vote filibuster requirement. They only need one more Democrat. Nobody knows the Senate rules better than Mitch McConnell, and he's guaranteed the president, Judge Gorsuch, will get on. What's interesting, and the case is from Missouri, what's interesting is the Democrats will try and delay because there are many cases coming down in April that Chuck Schumer does not want Judge Gorsuch on, including the Missouri parking lot case that you're probably familiar with. Can a Catholic school use a parking lot for a wiffle ball game when the parking lot was built by the government?
Yeah.
Every other group under the sun can use it, but not a Catholic school, because two judges in the great state of Missouri said that that's material assistance to a religious organization. They're not buying communion waivers, for God's sakes. They're letting 10-year-olds play wiffle ball on a parking lot.
Right.
That's got to be resolved by the Supreme Court.
Lord.
If Judge Gorsuch is on the court when it's resolved, the school children win. If Judge Gorsuch is not on the court when it's resolved, it's a 4-4 tie, and the lower court decision, which forbade the use of the parking lot by the wiffle ball team, will be the law of the land.
Interestingly enough,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it is nuts. But, what's crazy, too, is we have a little bit from Andrea Mitchell, who has indicated, because she brought it up, that there's a possibility that there's going to be some people out there trying to link Neil Gorsuch to his controversial yet deceased mother, who worked for the EPA during the Reagan administration and who had some issues and wound up leaving. But can you believe that they're actually going to kind of go that far to kind of try to smear him on the basis of...
He was in junior high and high school when that happened. I'll tell you something else Pelosi hates. Judge Gorsuch wrote a book on euthanasia, and there's a sentence in there she hates. Now, you tell me, Jamie, and everybody listening to us now, who could hate the following sentence? It is always morally wrong, intentionally, to kill the innocent. Who could hate that?
Yeah,
who could disagree with that?
Right.
Who could say that a statement like that is disqualifying in a judge?
Yeah.
Only Nancy Pelosi.
Unreal. Well, you know what?
You're getting me going here on
I
Thursday
know.
morning, Jamie. God bless you.
Honestly, I didn't even know why. That whole town hall meeting that she had was confusing to me anyway. Why CNN decided it was worthy of an hour with the House Minority Leader is beyond me. But oh well.
The voters spoke in something called ratings.
Yeah. That's for sure. That's for sure, buddy. Well, listen, always great to talk to you. Thank you so much for the extra time.
Do I still get to come on Tuesday, or does this Thursday gig replace next Tuesday?
No, there's no way. If I can get you tomorrow, I would have you on tomorrow. So, no.
God love you. Enjoy the day, the weekend. See you next week.
All right. Thank you so much. That's Judge Napolitano at Judge Knapp, judgenap.com.